So many highlights, hard to narrow that down to 30 seconds, but we welcome the three-time champ, Tony Stewart. Smoke, how you doing, man? What's the emotion like to get a phone call like you got today?
Well, it's a huge honor, obviously. It's very humbling, a huge honor for sure. And you look at the list of guys that are nominated, it's a who's who of NASCAR racing for sure.
Who wound up giving you that phone call, by the way?
Actually, I was on the plane when that happened. I was on my way home from Daytona today, so I actually got it in the form of a text versus a phone call.
Ah.
Hey, Tony, whenever you started racing as a young man, obviously thinking about a Hall of Fame wasn't something that you were considering. You just wanted to race. You loved to compete. But now that this has happened, have you taken time since you basically quit the NASCAR scene and thought about and looked back over how much you accomplished in your career?
I honestly haven't, to be honest, and the main reason for that is I'm still racing. I mean, I've got 99 dirt races on my schedule this year, so it doesn't leave much time to stop and do anything, let alone, really reflect on our career. But, I'm still busy, with Stewart Haas Racing and everybody at Ford, and I got 4 awesome drivers that I love interacting with, and, I guess I just haven't got away from it far enough to really stop and look backwards. We're still just looking forwards right now.
Yeah, Tony, I see on the sheet there you've got 49 career wins, 14th on all time. Did you stop at that number 14 intentionally? Because we know that you and AJ, that's a really important number for you.
Well, the hard part when it comes to AJ is he reminds you of stats like that, and if you need that one extra number to beat him, you better take it anytime you can get it, because he will rub it in your face that he's one ahead of you on anything. So, he keeps rubbing in my face that he's got 4 Indy 500 wins, but I keep reminding him that he has 0 Cup championships. So it's all I got to lean on.
Well, I wanted to say congratulations, and I was kidding there, but. Reflecting, I asked you a question one time. I said Andretti, Foyt, Unser, Petty, Earnhardt, Stewart, and you said, I don't feel like I belong in that sentence. Do you feel like you belong now?
Not really. I'm still where I was at with that. And I think a lot of that too is, those were guys I grew up, watching on TV and respect so much that I just have never even thought about myself even remotely. I don't know that I was even qualified to carry their helmet back for them. So it's just to be put in a sentence like that is something that it's kind of like watching an episode of Sesame Street. It's like, which thing doesn't belong? And I feel like I'm the one that doesn't belong in that category.
Hey, you just had a Hall of Fame induction last night, didn't you? You mentioned you were coming back from Daytona. That was the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America. So that might be practice for what you might be able to do in January.
Yeah, and I told him last night when I was at the podium, and my good friend Jimmy Johnson inducted me, and I'm so grateful for that. He is an awesome man. He's an awesome race car driver, and truly a great friend. I appreciated him introducing me, but it's kind of hard. It's hard to imagine, going into Hall of Fames while you're still a race car driver. I told him, I said, it kind of makes me feel old, and I don't know if I want to feel that old yet. So, I'm enjoying racing, but I had an absolute blast at that induction ceremony last night with good grief, Dario Franchitti and Kevin Schwantz and Linda Vaughn and Don Schumacher, Augie Duesenberg, just awesome inductees, and we had a lot of fun with those guys. And then you have people, Don Snake Perdome and Joe Amato and Scotty Parker, Walker Evans, Bill Simpson. You got guys like that you've grown up watching and admiring, and you're hanging out with them. And they've somehow found a way to give me a really large headache the last 2 nights, and I don't know how I got talking into that part, but they're really good at that part, I found out.
Yeah, you've been pretty good at a lot of things, winning races at all types of racetracks and different types of cars, Tony, but your path really didn't start out being a NASCAR driver. Obviously, you were successful at Indy cars, but does that make this even more special that this was something that you had to adapt to, and now you're going to be what I would think a first ballot Hall of Famer in 2020?
Well, and the hard part was, actually when I started in NASCAR in '96 with Harry Raniere, I also started in the Indy Racing League the same year. So I went, from cars that were kind of in the middle of both of these to cars that were on total opposite ends of the spectrum, and going from an Indy car and then my first race at Daytona, literally 3 weeks later, it was it was very different from anything that I was used to, and having to go to the opposite ends of the spectrum like that really kept me on my toes. But I think it was something that made me appreciate just the basics of racing and things that I had learned from guys like Bobby East and Glenn Nibel and Steve Chrisman, guys that I drove for in open wheel cars, and the lessons that I learned and things that they taught me that were fundamentals and basics. And it didn't matter whether it was a lightweight Indy car with wide tires and a lot of downforce on a lightweight car, or going to NASCAR with a heavier car, smaller tires, and less downforce. The basics were still the same. I mean, the car does one of three things. It's either pushes and scrubs the front end, or it's loose and scrubs the back end, or all four tires scrub together. And that doesn't matter what kind of race car you drive. It does one of those three things all the time.
If you make it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're going to set a record for the guy who runs the most races after he's inducted in the Hall of Fame. I mean, what you said, 99 this year? Seriously?
Well, you might want to check with Schrader. Kenny Schrader might run more than me. I don't know. I learned a lot of bad habits from Schrader. I also learned from DJ there as well. But
whoa.
Schrader might be the only guy that runs more than me after retiring from NASCAR.
I would bet so. Well, congratulations on being a nominee, Tony, and we'll find out in May if you make it into the Hall of Fame in January.
All right, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, NASCAR fans. Thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.